So Kalista is in quite a funny situation right now with how weak she is.
I really do think that Kalista might actually be the worst champion in League of Legends.
Crazy, I know. But guess what? You can still be 1v9 with her, and honestly, you don't even need to be that good. I mean, you do need to be good at her, but it's because she's mentally difficult to utilize, because her supposed damage is awful, and she's absolutely non-existent in the late game. Well, until now. I went into the depths of solo queue hell just to find out how to make Kalista work in the current meta, and I managed to figure out a build that actually makes her useful. Apart from just showing you the build, I will also show you how to actually play with it, why it works, and how it's actually better than the usual on-hit build. And at the end, I'm also gonna show you a little trick that is actually consistent with this build. And I know that very questionable builds appear on YouTube from time to time, where a certain someone is totally not playing against bronze and iron players to show how broken the build is. But unlike that certain someone, I actually consistently play those builds in Masters, and it's gonna be just as good if not better in lower elo. Anyways, here is the build with the rune setup. And before you say anything, yes, you can god runes too. I have tested them all. PTA, Hail of Blades, Lethal Tempo, and some silly combinations. Just this rune page seems to be the most consistent. First, Lethal Tempo works quite well with yuntal, and it also makes up for the lower attack speed from the items. And then you take Bloodline, because lifesteal works insanely well with crits, since you heal a lot more with each auto attack. And yes, I know on-hit damage also applies lifesteal, but it's just not as good in comparison. And for the secondaries, since you play ADC and hate every support that you get, you take the ultimate hunter to throw them around as much as possible. To engage, of course. You can also take resolve, but I'm not planning to go in depth about the runes. Now, I know it all sounds weird to you. Why the fuck would you go crit on Kalista and without Infinity Edge on top of it? First of all, you can in fact go Infinity Edge, but it's quite an exception. But first I want you to understand the idea behind the build. You see, with the current state of meta, on-hit items are more situational, because not only do you need to play the early game well, but you're also not really able to deal with a lot of champions in mid and late game. Your job is to, quote, deal with tanks and bruisers, unquote, and throw your support places. Oh, and here is how the reality looks when trying to kill a tank. I did absolutely no fucking damage to him, lovely. Oh, I didn't have Lord Dominic finished. My bad. Here is another clip. Yeah, my bad. Should have just not yielded to this Keisante taking me on holidays with his ult, and I should have just played it better instead. So yeah, Kalista is pretty much useless because there's just too much damage in the game from literally everything else, combined with funny amount of CC. And since Riot hates ranged champions, tanky items will not always be enough for you. Like, you might survive a little longer, which can be really good in some games, but on the other hand, you're trading tons of damage for a coin flip survivability, making it less consistent. And this build in general fixes all of those issues at once. First, crit gives you way more damage, so you can already be an actual champion that can 1v1 other ADCs without the need of having entire team with you. Yuntal also allows you to get much better power spike. Yes, Blade of the Ruined King is also a good spike, but you will still struggle in some matchups, like for example Samira. And on top of it, Yuntal has surprisingly better build buff, but I'll talk about it in a second. And in late game, instant attack speed buff combined with crit actually allows you to match a lot more champions, unlike with Ginzu build, that forces you to wait 3 whole fucking seconds before you can actually start doing something. And that's exactly why this build is just so good on Kalista, making Yuntal literally one of the best items you can get on her, because it gives you all you need. Like, you literally get tons of damage, a lot of attack speed, and then on top of it, even more attack speed. And you also get a percentage chance to win trades by pure skill, just like the good old times. And as I said before, the build path is actually better compared to the Blade of the Ruined King. Of course, getting 1.3k gold for BF Sword isn't ideal, but the items themselves are just much better compared to the combines of Bork and Ginzu. Because look at this, Pickaxe is good, Vampiric Scepter is somewhat okay, even though the stats are rather mediocre. But the Recurve Bow is so fucking useless and it's so beyond overpriced that you pretty much never even want to fully buy it. Meanwhile, the Slingshot is 100 gold cheaper, gives you better stats, and the passive damage is better. And it's better because of 2 reasons. First of all, you can't always all in, meaning you have to rely on poke from Q, so the slingshot already helps you with that a lot more. And second reason? Well, ADCs are known from having negative MR, and guess what? Slingshot deals magic damage. So yeah, the only awkward part about the yuntal build path is the BS sword, but the thing is, if you can't get a BS sword recall on Kalista, you're probably doing something wrong anyways. But to be honest, you can always buy more daggers instead. But if you're struggling so much that even daggers can't help you, I've got something else for you instead. Skill Gap is a free app to train your mechanics. It has a variety of trainings to help you improve in whatever you need, and it's specifically designed so you can get better mechanically without having to actually play the game. And if you use my link, you will actually support me. Link in the description. Anyways, time to address the silly in the room. Shield Bow. Yes, I know this item in general is absolute dogshit, and I hate to bring the bad news, but it's actually decent on Kalista. And before you call me delusional, hear me out, because trust me, I know what I'm talking about. So do you guys remember how I said tank items give you coin flip survivability? Well, this item also has a coin flip chance of keeping you alive, but the important thing is, you're not compromising your damage, which is very fucking important in this meta. And the best part, you'll very much confuse enemies, because who in the right mind would even consider buying this item on something other than wind cheaters? But that's about the only confusion there is in this build, because as I said, it's pretty straightforward. That's why the rest of the items are Hurricane, Lord's Dominic, and Bloodthirster. They give you all the other stuff you need to carry. Attack speed, potential AoE, ability to at least tickle tanks, and funny damage with a shield and lifesteal. Honestly, the only thing you should know about this is that Hurricane works with Yuntal's passive, so you'll have it up pretty much all the time now. And if enemies are insanely tanky, you can buy Lord's Dominic sooner. And with how much I'm talking about the need for damage, you're probably thinking, so where is Infinity Edge in all of it? You see, the problem with Infinity Edge is that it's a very expensive item that provides you with raw damage only. It doesn't give you anything else. And to understand what I mean, let's look at other items as an example. Shield Bow gives you shield. Yuntal gives you tons of damage and attack speed. And all the other items enhance Kalista kit with either attack speed or survivability. Because guess what? Your auto attacks aren't the only thing that you rely on when it comes to damage. Your E is also pretty fucking important. So simply speaking, it's just not worth buying in most games. So if that's the case, when would you buy it? There are two situations when it's worth getting. First one, you're a greedy fucker that knows how to play and you just want to smurf on everyone. And the second, your team is silly and they drafted 4 tanks, so you're just left being the only damage in the game. Then it is actually a good idea to buy it. And now that you know what to pick and when, let's get to the most important part, playstyle. For the early game, since you're gonna be buying tons of damage thanks to the BS sword in the build path, you can max Q to help you poke down the enemies and prepare the all-in setup. Or if instead you get worse recalls and you're forced to buy daggers, or you just have a really good engage, going E-max is also good. But ideally you'd get a BS sword on the first or second reset, since it literally gives you your first power spike, because you can bully everyone with QE. And then the second power spike is at Yuntal, because the attack speed buff gives you way stronger engage thanks to your passive. You just need to make sure to stack the crit as soon as possible, so consider not spamming E on minions. And when it comes to the late game, there isn't much to talk about since you play like average ADC. Except there is one trick you can do with this build that you rarely can do with the on-hit one. You see, Riot is a very funny company and they decided that Kalista E will be the most frustrating and inconsistent thing to ever exist when last hitting minions. You attack a minion twice, you kill it. You attack a minion once and then E, then the god decides to spare the soul and he keeps it alive. Very funny balance. Riot truly has outdone themselves. But with this build, all you need is some luck with crit and you'll actually be able to prepare the minions beforehand and actually slow down enemies whenever you want. And that's pretty much all you need to know. Thanks, bye.